Once again, we have a local election drawing national attention in Germany. In the East German state of Thuringia, there is a current mayoral election happening in the city of Nordhausen. And this has drawn attention from the media and national politicians because, once again, the AfD is looking very favored in this race. They are potentially going to elect their first mayor in this state. And this is a big deal because the AfD, of course, is a very controversial party in Germany. It has been excluded from political power in the state legislatures and in the federal parliament. And so, no matter how much support the AfD wins, they can go from 10% to 20% to 30%. As long as they're below 50%, all of the other parties can refuse to work with them. And then it means, effectively they have no power. But in these races for executives, mayors or landrats, district administrators, they are electing one person. And if the AfD can win in the runoff, they control that position. They have legitimate power. So this is the reason why this has been important, because the AfD has been able to win large support in state elections, but that doesn't translate to legitimate power. These races, even though they're small, even though they're cities of 40, 50,000 people, it means the AfD for the first time has legitimate power. We saw this happen for the first time in Sonneberg, also in the state of Thuringia a few months ago, where the AfD elected Robert Sesselmann as the first district administrator in the country, and that is kind of a mayor of a county, if you will. And we have this happening again, except in a city of the same similar population in the same state. I will show you quickly. This is the state of Thuringia in Germany, a state where the AfD generally does really well. Here in the south is where Sonneberg is, and up in the north, Nordhausen is the city that is currently having the mayoral election. Now, if you look at the results, we have the first round that happened this Sunday. The AfD candidate Jörg Profit came in first place with 42.1%. The incumbent candidate Kai Buchmann, who is an independent and formerly a member of the Greens, came in second with 23.7%. Now, this result is a great result for the AfD. They have been able to win elections in the state. They've been able to be the largest party on the city councils, but 42% is a huge improvement from even what they've had in the past few years. Now, I don't want to do an actual breakdown and do a complete prediction like I did for Sonneberg, because these races are very hard to predict. You have people that maybe vote in the first round that don't vote in the second, people that vote in the second that don't vote in the first. There's lots of movement. And I think in general, the AfD candidate is the favorite. He has a 19-point lead, and we have to, always remember that all the other parties are going to coalesce and work for Kai Buchmann's victory. All the other parties are going to endorse him, campaign for him. So it is, he has that advantage. Buchmann has the advantage of all the other parties backing him. But even then, numbers-wise, Profit has such a strong lead that I think in the end he's going to win. I don't think it's going to be by, that much. I don't think it's going to be actually by too little. I think it's probably going to be 52, 54% for Jörg Profit. But, as we saw in Sonneberg and another election that happened, it's very possible. The AfD has already set the precedent that they can win, and I think that, clearly shows that they can probably do it here. And I want to take a quick look at the overall results. We have, yet again, the AfD candidate 42%. But what's important to note is the candidates of the CDU and SPD are at 11 and 18%. Now, the CDU and SPD, although they've been weaker generally in this state than they have in certain states in the West, on the local level, they used to be dominant here. They used to be able to, if not win, at least contest these elections, at least be able to make it to the runoff and be competitive. And we see the SPD, missed it by 5 points, but the CDU at 11%, this is, a bad result for them. For 25 years, they were the largest party in this state. And for them to come fourth place in a mayoral election is a big deal. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to get 11% statewide, but it does show that the power and the influence that the CDU and SPD had is waning. And why is this important? Now, this is important for two things. One, it is another test, federally, it is another test to see if the establishment parties can prevent the AfD, because they consider the AfD to be, some of them say dangerous to democracy. They consider the AfD to be extreme. The Green Party in particular considers the AfD to be, a political party that they do not want to normalize, and they do not want to see the AfD gain power. So all the political parties, even the CDU, have basically worked together to prevent the AfD from winning these positions. And if they fail again, it's just going to be another strike, another, victory for the AfD, and I think it's another break in that wall against them. But another thing is the state of Thuringia, where this is happening, has a state election next year, a state election in September, October 2024. And if we take a look at the results for this, not the results, but the results for the opinion polls, we see the AFD is far ahead of its rivals. The party of the incumbent governor, Bodo Ramelow from Die Linke, is barely holding on to second place. And the CDU is at 20%. This is an okay result, but still a drop from what they got in the previous election. Now, over the past year and few months, the AFD has risen, but they are now at a solid, around 32%. This is a huge lead. And what's important here is the AFD in this state association, in this state legislature, has one of the most radical and maybe extreme factions. It is very notorious and it is demonized by a lot of the political West, but it has been very successful. And the question is whether or not they will be able to come to power. Now, if they are able to win some of these local races, that gives them leverage, that gives them legitimacy. The biggest problem for the AFD is none of the other parties want to work with them. And what the strategy is if the AFD can build relationships on the local level by winning mayoral elections, winning these district administrative elections, they can normalize the party, they can give it legitimate power, and eventually work with the CDU. Now, the CDU has still said that they're not going to work with the AFD. But if the AFD wins enough support, it might happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but there's a lot of stuff that could happen. The left-wing parties, the incumbent governor, are all polling well below a majority, and the CDU kind of has to, they're in a predicament because either, the more liberal wing of the CDU wants to keep the AFD out of power, so they don't want to work with the AFD, but there's some more conservative-leaning people that say, well, if the CDU is seen as preventing the AFD from coming to power and helping the left to stay in power, some of the more conservative-leaning voters of the CDU aren't going to like that, and they might leave, and the CDU might say, well, we don't want to lose further support, and so we could see cooperation between the AFD and the CDU. I still think it's very unlikely. And the results are not, for sure. We still have a year till this race, but nonetheless, these are still electoral tests. This still, every mayoral election is a test because these are only polls. And when we see the AFD be able to win 42% in a city of 40,000, it is hard, raw data that they can use. And this is going to be a signal not only to Berlin, but to Erfurt, the state capital. And we will see what happens. And of course, I'm going to do plenty more videos on predictions when these state elections come up, but now we have the ones in Bavaria and Hessen, and after we have the results for the mayoral election itself, I will do a breakdown and an analysis. Of course, like I said, the election in Sonneberg already happened, so the precedent is already set, so this one isn't going to be as big of a deal, but nonetheless, it is an important election in Germany right now, and I wanted to just give a brief overview of it and what it means for Germany and federal politics and also the Thuringian state politics. And over these next few weeks, I'll do some more videos on the state elections. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys a brief update, and I hope you enjoyed and liked the video. And if you do, please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you all for watching.